we're going to start with a very easy question, which is, what is your name and what do you do?
Perfect. Well, my name is Allie Miller. Thank you for having me. And I lead the ads product team at Instacart. I've been at Instacart for 3 years.
Only 3 years.
Only 3 years.
I feel like 3 is 5 years. I don't know. That's wild.
Yeah, a lot has been packed into those 3 years.
No kidding. Yeah. All right. So we're in CES 2025. What do you see as the biggest retail media trends for the upcoming year, and how is your platform addressing them?
So one of the biggest retail media trends that we've been seeing, and I know you've been seeing as well, is this theme of retail media extending everywhere. So we started out with retail media really being this powerful way to connect to consumers at the point of purchase as they're shopping online. But increasingly, we're seeing opportunities for retail media data to really connect the dots entirely throughout the consumer journey, whether they're finding inspiration or browsing somewhere else on the web or watching CTV or whatever it may be. That through line of data can actually now help marketers and advertisers connect with consumers in a more targeted way, help to actually shape that shopping journey from seeing that ad and then connect the dots with the conclusion of the point of purchase and closed loop data. So we're now seeing that retail media is not just a single thing. It is actually a way to buy and a way to think about an entire marketing strategy, top to bottom.
That is maybe one of the better definitions of when people say full funnel marketing of that. So that was very well said. And I think that we will use that. Thank you. All right. So tell us a little bit about what is unique. Now, there's a lot of retail media networks. I think there's over 200. What is unique about the direction your retail media network is heading in 2025?
So Instacart retail media is different from the beginning because we're not a retailer. We are a retail enablement company. So we work with 1,500 retailers on the Instacart marketplace, and we're allowing consumers to really shop from their favorite store, whether it's a local independent grocer or a more established retailer with many, many locations. And so we've really taken this approach of how can we actually drive value both for our brand partners and for our retail partners to make sure that consumers can find what they're interested in using the entirety of that incredible catalog of items across those 1,500 retailers. And we have an opportunity to shape the shopping journey and create these moments of inspiration and discovery using all of the data and signals that we have across each of those integrations with each of our retail partners. The other piece that makes us different is that we are not just doing this on the Instacart marketplace, on the Instacart app. We're doing it with retailers' owned and operated sites. We're partnering to drive ads experiences and online shopping experiences across retailers' own sites through our Instacart platform and through Carrot Ads. And so we're increasingly thinking, as you said, with the proliferation of retail media networks, we really need a simplified point of entry. And Instacart's increasingly leaning into that, where we can provide a single point of entry to actually hundreds of retail media networks with each of the retailers that are partnering with us on Carrot Ads and make it easy to buy across the board, reach consumers where they are, and then get those products into their hands within an hour.
Okay, that's compelling. It's also making it easier to buy retail media, really. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about emerging brands. What opportunities do you see for small and emerging brands to compete with the larger players in retail media?
Emerging brands have this huge opportunity with retail media because they're no longer working with a static shelf. In many cases, emerging brands do struggle to kind of get off the bottom shelf or get the level of shelf space or eye level shelf space in particular that more established brands can get within the grocery store. But of course, in the digital shelf, this can be all personalized. It can be really tailored to what a consumer is interested in discovering. And we find that on Instacart in particular, emerging brands have been really eager to lean in and make sure that they're at eye level. They can actually complete that full funnel journey, as we were talking about, and being discovered, showing what's special about them, and making their way into carts for the first time. So we've seen that a lot of emerging brands are really taking advantage of this opportunity and making sure that they can really think in a digital first way and make sure that they're driving as much discovery and acquisition as possible and start to build those habits of consumers adding their products to carts over and over again.
So how will your retail media network, how will Instacart infuse AI into your platform? How is the playbook going to change? And good question is, how can brands influence what should they be doing?
Hottest trend right now, of course, generative AI. I can't have a discussion without it. So we really started working on, again, really from the consumer angle, what will actually help a consumer complete a shopping journey in a way that's more fun, more personalized, more actionable for them? And then how can we apply that to every layer of our business, from, internal employees who can be more productive and use AI increasingly throughout our day-to-day work lives, but also how can we really infuse the platform with some of these capabilities? So I would say we really started in a very exploratory space. We looked at whether we could do more in terms of conversational search. We looked at where should generative AI kind of be a frontline, something that's very visible to a consumer right off the bat, similar to how you'd interact with ChatGPT. What we found over time is that certainly there's still room for that. There's still room for a consumer to know, okay, I'm going to interact with a chatbot, or I'm going to interact with something much in the way that I would with ChatGPT directly. But increasingly, we're really focused on infusing what generative AI can do throughout the entirety of the shopping journey without consumers necessarily even being aware of that. So as an example, we've really invested in understanding how can we anticipate the next item that might go with the item that you're shopping. How might we be able to anticipate what completes a common basket, or what completes the type of basket that you might be building? Machine learning, of course, has been part of this process forever, but generative AI gives us that additional component of really deeply understanding, okay, someone's actually making a Thai food-based recipe, or someone might be able to better engage with a set of products if they have a cohesive theme around them, like snacks for hiking, which otherwise would have taken a human many, many days and many, many hours and many, many more people to come up with all of these different carousels of items. But with generative AI, we can just simply come up with, a number of different options that a consumer can interact with. It can be super dynamic and personalized. And so we've increasingly found that really that is what's driving the step change in engagement, and both with ads and with organic content.
Can you give an example of like what you just talked about? So if you're starting to put certain ingredients into your cart, are you then going to show the completion of like that recipe? Like, is that what you're kind of talking about?
So some examples would be if you're browsing a certain item and you click into the item details page, we could provide a set of items that are related to it. So it could be kind of guessing the context of, a similar type of cuisine that you're looking at, or simply items that the consumer might be interested in. So kind of fusing what ML and generative AI can do together. The other thing that I was mentioning is, taking that example of snacks for hiking. We could actually put together the set of items that go with that theme, knowing that those are items that now kind of have this context is going to be really meaningful to the consumer, and help them to understand what's potentially going to go into their cart in a different way that doesn't necessarily require all of that manual curation that such an experience might have in the past.
So it's almost like it will know before you know what you want to do.
Exactly.
All right.
And I think we're increasingly going to see that in the generative AI space, that it'll be less explicit and more sort of implicit behind the scenes, and really hopefully help to bring those more kind of magical experiences to life that just feel a lot more human.
I can't wait to see all this come to life. All right. So measurement.
Yes.
This is one of my favorite questions. Can you share a unique metric that you prioritize when evaluating the performance, and why you find it particularly insightful compared to more traditional metrics? We've had, customer clicks and impressions and like just traditional,
all the
ROAS,
classics,
like all the stuff. But is there something more unique about your platform that you have? I know you have a different type of ROAS, but what would you say is a unique metric?
Yeah, so one of the metrics that I've really been excited to roll out in this past year is the share of digital shelf metric. So this is really looking at the holistic presence of a brand across the entire Instacart platform. So not just looking at how are you doing on ads, how are you doing on category share, but how are you doing in terms of actual eye level kind of presence in front of a consumer when relevant categories are searched. So we found that this is really valuable. We talked earlier about emerging brands, really valuable for emerging brands to understand how they're doing and whether they're kind of building the presence that they want on Instacart. For established brands, it helps them understand how competitive they're remaining, or whether they're missing opportunities to connect with consumers at the right time, where ads, of course, can be a really important component of that process. So it's an example of a metric that really brings organic and ads together and really thinks about where are consumers going to be able to see the brands and products that brands are hoping to actually drive purchase of on the platform.
Yeah, and benchmark and measure and see if it's changing, right?
Exactly.
All right. Okay, so here's a question. If a brand were to do a case study in 2025, what would it be on Instacart? And maybe someone will actually do it.
I would love for this to be a case study that we can do, because it's increasingly real. So Of course, we all know that, the different portions of the consumer journey are connecting more than ever. We talked about data really being this through line of, from the discovery and browsing and TV watching all the way to the e-commerce behavior. We can have data as that real kind of understanding of what is a consumer actually doing end to end. What I'm really excited about is as if you look at what we're doing in this space from on-platform innovation, launching new ad formats, launching new ways to be discovered in and outside of the traditional aisle, to off-platform activations, working with partners like Meta, Google, and others, extending reach with Carrot Ads, with Thrive and other partners that we've brought on board to Carrot Ads, and then all the way now into the grocery store with Caper Carts, so our smart shopping carts that can now connect also with consumers in this amazing personalized and dynamic way. As we continue to scale all of these capabilities, I would love to see a case study that really talks about true omnichannel impact across all of these different touch points, with Instacart's data being the through line across all of it.
All right. Challenge accepted.
Let's do it.
I am going to find a hand raiser.
Okay.
And try to get this case study for
Amazing.
2025.
I will definitely take you up on that.
And then we'll
one.
talk about it hopefully before CES next year.
Perfect.
With the results. All right. Okay. Last question. If you could set one we're talking about retail media resolutions.
Yes.
If you could set one resolution for brands in 2025, what would it be?
My recommendation for a New Year's resolution around retail media is taking us all the way back to the top. How can we think about retail media not as a silo, but as a capability across all of marketing? It's not a job for one team. It's not a job for one budget. It's not a job for one person or group of people. It really is an opportunity to look at point of purchase data, closed loop measurement, targeting, and all of these capabilities that can really drive a ton of value across the entire funnel. I think that brands should really be thinking about that resolution of thinking of retail media across every component of their business.
All right. That's a great one. We will also make that another goal too.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.